on what chipset. Okay, so I'm guessing this is on most, or those chipsets that are all supported by Mac. It did appear to work on my ATI 4870. That's the video card on my Mac Pro in there right now. And now I think it was only showing, like I said, a couple of percentage points, because I do have a 8-core, and since, you know, so it was kind of hard to tell. So with hardware acceleration, it was probably, I think it was showing 3 to 4%, and with the hardware acceleration, it was 2 to 3%. So it was only a difference about 1%, so it was just kind of hard to tell. So it did appear to work on the Mac Pro, which is, you know, a different chipset than in the Gala one. So I don't know. Have you guys used the new 10.2 yet? And what do you guys think on it? Now, supposedly, a few people used it, and it actually kind of lock up. And you're going to see that with when I show This Week in Linux News coming up at about around 8:30, 8:20. And he talks about the same thing. It said locked up for him as well. Now, he said, keep in mind that, of course, it isn't beta revision, so it's not 100%. Now, I didn't show any crashing with all the systems I tested it on. I did kind of notice a little quirk with my Linux system, and I don't know if that was due to, because I just installed Mint Linux on it, if there was something with that. But it always appeared when I was playing Flash that this issue would happen. But the system would kind of stutter for about a second every once in a while, and the mouse would stop moving, and then, you know, and when it had like normal. And I don't know if it's a browser issue, Flash issue, or, you know, what it is exactly. But on the most part, it was pretty stable, and it worked as advertised. But it didn't work. It was 0% CPU usage. It cut it down to about 1/3, about 1/2 to maybe 2/3 or something like that. It wasn't, you know, 0 like Adobe and some of the other websites are claiming. But okay, that was some of the Flash related stuff. So you guys haven't used 10.2 at all with hardware acceleration? Now, I'm guessing some of you have been Windows users and had it for a while, but okay, I guess 7bot hasn't used it yet. And I forgot some of the Linux Mac users out there, so that'll be interesting as well. And like I said, I'm going to show it for Jordan on This Week on Linux News, and he'll mention that also as well. And Carla Brown hasn't used it. Okay. And okay, I'm going to talk a little bit next about Ubuntu, and a little bit about Fedora, because it's kind of related to that as well. And I found this actually on Operating System News, OS News, which is a new resource I've been using lately. And one of the things that I noticed is, of course, you guys probably already know about the Unity Window Manager. Now, this was implemented for the new Netbook edition. And, I mean, yeah, you can use it on the desktop and things like that, but they're saying in, I think it's 11.04, the upcoming revision of Ubuntu, it's going to be standard, vice the GNOME desktop. And I'm not really too happy about that, because I think Unity Window Manager is great for mobile devices like netbooks, tablets, and things like that. How you doing there, Lud King? I didn't see you come in there earlier. And I just don't see using it on a desktop system. You know, let's say you have a 4-core or a 6-core, or, you know, whatever. I think it does use kind of a touch interface, perhaps made for tablets. And plus, right now, it's kind of buggy right now. I mean, people saying you can't like hide the taskbar and, you know, things like that. They're supposedly working real hard to be able to get it ready for the desktop by the next upgrade, which is 11.04 of Ubuntu. I'm not, like I said, I'm not too happy about that. So I don't know what you guys think on the. Now I'm quite sure they will. Now I don't know if they're going to do this by default. You know, now they do it with the netbook edition where you can use either Unity, which comes up by default, or the GNOME desktop, which is installed on the netbook edition, so you can switch it to it before you log in. Now, hopefully, they're going to do the same thing with the next revision of Ubuntu by making installing the GNOME desktop and giving you a choice between the two. Now, I'm guessing by default the Unity comes up unless you select it, but it's going to be kind of a pain to go in there and try to install it, and you know, and then use it if it's not installed already. Okay, you can hide the bar. Okay, I think I tried to, and I'm not a big Unity user, so I could see it being great, like I said, for mobile devices, tablets, and things like that. But I seen Sergeant go when I mentioned Unity is now I don't know if he's a Linux user. I think he uses Windows, but oh, okay, it was in the last daily build. Okay, that's good. Now that kind of goes to something else I just found out, but supposedly this is more with Mint Linux, and I think Ubuntu is doing the same thing, but they're going to start going something's called rolling distro. You know how like every 6 months a new, you know, they come out with the new updates, you know, major distribution upgrades. Now they're going toward more like regular updates. It's not going to be, you know, revisions, you know, and then, you know, every 6 months, then all the changes. They're going to try to roll the changes throughout, you know, the whole 6 month period instead of having, you know, every 6 months. And I know Mint Linux is going to be doing this, and Ubuntu as well. So. And now there's another change to Ubuntu, which I do like, and this is this has to do with they're going to start using. Hold on, let me see if I can bring up this. I kind of got it written down, but I forgot to write some of this other stuff as well. It says Ubuntu will adopt Wayland graphics system. Now, before it used from the very beginning, it used something like Xorg, which is their window management system, or X Windows, and that's actually forked off from Xfree86. Okay, the decision by Ubuntu to do this was it's because Xorg and Xfree86 is really old, and it's not using. It does use some updated, you know, stuff to it. But see, a lot of it is now it's built into the kernel, but they still leave all the old files and things like that. And so they're going to try to eventually adopt this Wayland graphic system, and sort of utilizes a lot of the things built into the kernel. It's going to get rid of old things they don't really need anymore. Now with the Xorg, it kind of adds the new things as extensions onto the old. Their old X Windows system, so they're going to get rid of that. And I think that's a good idea, doing that. I agree on that. The Unity, not so much, but so that's a good change in my opinion. They're adopting a new X Windows system. See, I said there's a lot of Windows or Linux stuff coming up. That I didn't know. No NVIDIA support, which is surprising because NVIDIA is more supported than any other graphic card, really, as far as drivers and software. Perhaps that's what they're waiting on. It's not fully adopted. They're wanting to adopt it. And I just found out about, you know, a couple of days ago, and I figured it'd be interesting for conversation. And I think there's a few other things. Now, of course, you guys know, I'm sure most of you guys know of, said they won't support it. Really? Wow. So how are they going to adopt it now? It's not just Ubuntu that's going to adopt Wayland. It's also, I believe, Fedora Core as well. And I just found this out yesterday, poking around some Linux sites. So I don't see how they're going to adopt it if they can't support, NVIDIA can't support it. Not unless they're going to write their own drivers for, now I'm sure it will work, but it's not going to have accelerated graphics for compositing window managers, which Unity supposedly is. Okay, there, Sergeant. Yeah, I think they will too, especially if Ubuntu and Fedora Core is going to... I don't know, it may not... I don't know, we'll see. NVIDIA might be kind of stubborn on that, but nobody likes change. Now, I think this is a good change, though. I don't know if anybody else will agree with me, but Unity, bad. Wayland, good. So, and I think there's a few other things I wanted to mention. Wayland, I think that was it. Unity, yeah, Unity is evil in my opinion. I mean, it's great, like I said, on mobile devices, netbooks, tablets, and desktops as a power user. Nah, I don't know. Maybe somebody can get it to use it. I don't know. Okay, we're going to stop right there. Actually, I got some more stuff coming up, but we're going to do some This Week in Linux news by Jordan because he does talk about the new Flash 10.2 as well, among other things. And I thought I had it set up, but just take about a minute. And here we go.
It's Friday, December 3rd, 2010, and you're watching This Week in Linux News. Some big numbers were thrown around in the Linux world this week, starting off with Red Hat. Forbes.com posted an article this week claiming that if Red Hat's revenues stay where they've been for this last quarter, they stand to make over $1 billion in 2011. This would make them one of only a handful of companies that have ever made the $1 billion mark in 1 year, and the first open source company to ever do it. So for those people still saying you can't make money with open source, Red Hat has proven you wrong yet again. In addition, it was unofficially announced that Samsung has already hit their goal of shipping 1 million Samsung Galaxy Tabs within 2011. Since the unofficial announcement was made, Samsung has raised their goal from 1 million to 1.5 million by the end of the year. Given that we still have a few weeks left in the holiday season, it is entirely possible that they could ship another 500,000 units by that time. Alright, let's move on to some distro release news. On Thursday of this week, Ubuntu released their Alpha 1 of the 11.04 Natty Narwhal release. If you'd like to see what it looks like and see how it performs, feel free to take a look at my video I put out yesterday. I will have a link to that in the source code below and an annotation. Additionally, OpenSUSE 11.4 Milestone 4 has released. This new milestone is coming with kernel version 2.6.37 Release Candidate 3, which incorporates that 200-line patch that we talked about a couple of weeks ago to improve the performance significantly, and removes the big kernel lock that has been locked in for so long. Again, another thing we talked about a few weeks ago. So it is entirely possible that OpenSUSE 11.4 will have some significant performance improvements over the previous releases. And since we're talking about OpenSUSE, one of the OpenSUSE developers announced they're adding a new repo that they're calling Tumbleweed. This adds rolling release functionality to the versions of OpenSUSE that are coming out. Now this is not a requirement, this is not OpenSUSE becoming a rolling release distro, this is just going to give users another option. If you want to have a rolling release, you can do that, but you don't have to. And it's not going to be the factory repo, the one that has all of the bleeding edge updates. These are going to be the latest, stable, approved updates all the time. So if you're a Linux user and you're interested in a rolling release distro and you like OpenSUSE, this might be a great thing for you. And finally, Partist Linux 2011 Beta 2 is now available. The newer update mainly has more hardware support, bug fixes, updated packages, things of that nature. If you're not familiar with Partist Linux, it is a Linux distro created by the country of Turkey specifically for their own use. However, there is an English version available, and you are free to use it. I downloaded it and gave it a shot back in Beta 1, and I have to say it's a very impressive distro. I will probably be doing a review of the Beta 2 now that it's available. But if you would like to check that out, or any of the other distros that I mentioned, do feel free to check out the links. I will have them in a link in the source code below. Alright, let's talk about Ubuntu just a little bit more. They've decided with this 11.04 release that's coming up in a few months, they're going to do the 100 paper cuts project again. There are going to be 4 rounds of bug fixes for this. The first round is going to be dealing with Banshee. Since it's going to be the new default music player for 11.04, they want to make sure it is up to snuff. The